Welcome, gamers. I'm your GM Goblin, and this is Goblin Plays. And something that took me a little bit of getting used to in this game when I came back, may have been why I gave it up originally, was this does not have your normal Holy Trinity. It doesn't have, well, your tabletop, then you're probably used to having a caster, some kind of rogue character, your tank, and then a cleric. And that works with some MMOs as well as your other kind of fantasy games. But generally, we're used to having some kind of buff support class that does healing and some of your buff spells. And then we have your DPS and then a tank. I love playing a tank. TNL, played a tank. Super restrictive with what I wanted to play because I like the whole paladin class idea, very much like this Guardian here. But they don't have that here. Now they do have your heal, which is going to be your heal support. Heal support is going to be well, almost any builds, like I've said before. You can play almost anything, though some are better than others. My Firebrand makes an excellent heal support. This character, I have not really done a whole lot with my Luminary for healing, though I do have some Diviner gear on here specifically for support. But heal support, so you get most of your buffs, and then most all of your healing from one character. And then you have another character that is DPS. And to split the two, you generally have one character whenever you do groups. This is going to be a raid for your small party, one for ever so many members, or a strike team. You're going to have a DPS that also provides either quickness or alacrity. And alacrity, I can provide quickness I get from my relic, generally. But I find it odd, in all honesty. Now, it's kind of their own trinity. It's really broken down to those are what everyone looks for. So when you do a raid or something, that is exactly what you're going to file into. So it does have its trinity. It does have its way of doing it. At least it's more open. I find it has some issues, though. So I find it odd that your DPS is going to be providing one of these abilities. And then you've got your straight DPS, which is what we were always used to. But one other character in the party is going to be providing all the heals and all the other buffs. So it's a little getting used to, and I kind of wonder, I don't remember it always being that way. And from what I've seen, it's kind of coalesced into you've got this Holy Trinity in Guild Wars. But I kind of wonder if it doesn't restrict things just a little too much. Because in all honesty, your uptime is something that they're going to check whenever you're in raids for your alacrity or your quickness. And quickness being something, both of them actually, that you're going to want to have up 24/7. So it's going to always be available for your party. And those being mandatory and buffs very usually almost always being up when you get into big raids, or especially if you're in a Zerg and you have a million people around you, you're going to have all these buffs up. And I kind of wonder if it doesn't just take away a little bit of something from your specializations, from your class. Now, I know this game, above almost any other that I've got, allows you to make whatever kind of character you want. I can play a Luminary, and I can spec her for solo, or I can spec her for healing. I can spec her for DPS. I can spec her for DPS with alacrity build. And I can use different weapons. And of course, there's always going to be a meta. But I think that because it's gotten to where they're so used to having all the buffs, it kind of restricts a little bit in how people think about what you need to be a healer in the game. And I'm not complaining. I haven't been around long enough. I haven't gone. It's just something that I've noticed whenever we talk about or form a group for anything where you've got a healer so you know what they're going to bring. And I find it really cool, and I especially did when I first started, that if you're going to be either a Scourge or a Luminary or something, and you're going to be a healer support, I know you're going to heal, and I know all the buffs you're going to bring. And if I bring Alacrity and you have Alacrity, they're the same thing. So it's not like a Luminary Alacrity, it's not like a Necromancer Alacrity. I found that really cool because it made it simpler, but I also find that it kind of makes it to where you build your class that feels a little different, and maybe their abilities look different, but they kind of function in the same way. And so you're either dealing DPS and given a buff that should almost always be up, or then you're running your heal, your Paragon, or whatever else they're going to be doing. But it was just something that I thought was interesting. I don't know how long it's been that way, and I don't really remember it that way, but it was like 9 years ago when I originally picked this game up, and it was only for a short amount of time, so I don't have that many memories of it. But maybe you can leave comments down below about it. I don't have much of a complaint for it. I just find it, with so much diversity in your builds, how what gets brought to the table is very familiar, because I don't want to say it in a bad way. Because I know that if it was split too much, if there's too much diversity in the buffs you are going to be getting as a specific class, that class would win out. I mean, you see that in every other game. EverQuest, TNL, everything. WoW. You looked and preferred certain classes, and sometimes specifically for certain raid bosses. But that I just thought was a little different than what you were used to. I was really sad realizing once again that there were no tanks. Though tanking is rare, it is in the game, but it is also played by your full healer. So your character that is going to be your healer and your support, which I think you're a ritualist, you don't deal much damage. You're going to be attempting to draw the aggro, or I guess it would be not technically full aggro, but it would be the situation or event that you're having to quote unquote tank for a short amount of time. And that's just the way it goes with it. There's not like stand there, take lots of damage, but deal none. In this game, everyone's dealing damage unless you're full support. But either way, it's an interesting thing that just makes the game very unique. And I think it also makes it to where I don't feel too left out with things. And though I miss tanking, being the focus, standing there and not budging, it also made it hard to where I was constantly switching builds when I did TNL, because I could stand on a point in PvP and I wasn't going down because of what the build was. The problem was I would have to change gear and specs and move everything around. I wanted to kill anything because I was not dealing damage. Now I can run around and do everything, and you deal excellent damage, and so every class solos pretty well. I'm still a newbie with the Elementalist especially. I die constantly when I play that class, and maybe it's not just me, but regardless, I just think that even though it's a little odd, and it might take some time to get used to, the Holey Trinity of Guild Wars 2 works pretty good. Either way, go hit some raids, try some Worlds of Your World, and see you at the next boss run. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the world of Tyria. Remember to come back and join us at Goblin Plays.